Pop, I wanted to ask you about obviously your thoughts on yesterday and specifically, those 2 hours, I guess, between the news breaking that a verdict was coming versus it being read. You could just sort of feel tension everywhere. You could just feel tension and anxiety and apprehension. I guess what does that kind of say? That I guess there was a lot of concern about how this thing could have gone and what it would have meant. What does that sort of say about where we are, do you think?
Yeah, it's an important thought. Um, all of us had, nervous bellies, and uh, you think about what's gone on in the past and how little accountability there's been over the years. So you're cautiously optimistic that some, form of justice might happen, but you're not totally confident. And I think that's if you're a white person. People of color, I have to believe, had even more uh, nervous moments and anxiety and probably doubt about what was going to happen because of the past. So when the verdicts came down, you saw, the joy just kind of explode in people. And, I had a friend who mentioned to me, he said, it's a relief for all of us that it seems like a bit of justice has been done. But imagine being a 70, 80, 90-year-old Black person who's seen so much ugly in their lives in every way, shape, and form, socially, economically, etc. And then add COVID on top of it to see all the disparities. What a joy it had to be for someone like that to see this outcome in this trial. And then when I thought about it some more, I think it's a time to understand that that was maybe a victory in a war that's got to continue to be waged in the sense of demanding equality and justice and rights, because it hasn't happened yet. And when it was shown publicly, the statement that the Minneapolis police came out initially, if you read that, it's scary. Basically, it's like nothing happened except a man died. And if you look at it and you read it, it's a headline from the Minneapolis police. It's like, done. Nothing happened here. But for that video and the outcry that came after, we wouldn't have been there. We wouldn't have seen this trial. It probably wouldn't have happened. And so how many times has that been the story over many years? So it tells you that, this incident in some ways was a respite from the carnage that has gone on, seen and unseen, which means there's so much work to be doing, because it is structural, it is culture, it is recruiting, it is accountability, or these things wouldn't happen. The hubris that was displayed by this man, the disregard for any accountability that might happen at all, just the lack of humanity, the impunity that you see in the act and in his face, tells you that there's something wrong culturally, structurally, because it happens in so many places. It's happened with so many people. And so, the police unions have to be held to task. We can't listen to the bullcrap anymore. The argument about defunding, whoever came up with the defunding phrase was ignorant, because it's just used now to fight against accountability for police departments. Even here in San Antonio, our police chief has basically got his hands tied behind his back because he knows what's going on. He knows what's right and wrong about the department, but the arbitrators have the power. So the police unions, they use power in a way that does not protect and serve in many cases. And they have to be, the power has to be taken away as much as possible, just like with the NRA. But we can't believe, and deal with the tactics they've used over the years, whether it's, personal assassination, like in the case of Cheryl Scully, or calling out defunding, which is deceptive. It's a lie. Just like Trump's, the virus was a hoax. The election was stolen. And there are people that want to hear that and follow, and it's dangerous. And it causes death. And so I think that more than anything, we have to remember to be on guard, to call it out, that justice has not been realized yet, that was a victory. I'm thrilled for George Floyd's family, but he's still not with us. And it's because of the culture. It's not just a single one-off act of one man. We've seen it too many times. And police unions have to be called to task. We have to be brave about it and do what needs to be done.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tim. Let's go to Tom Osborne.
Bob, I think you may have already answered my question, but early voting is underway here for the May 1st election. Proposition B is on the ballot, which would take away collective bargaining for the police. Just what are your thoughts on that? And, have you voted, and are you doing anything to help campaign for that proposition?
Well, I haven't voted yet. I will, but Proposition B, it looks like a step in the right direction. So a yes vote on that, I think, is prudent, but it doesn't get you where you need to be. I mean, we're one of the very few cities in Texas that still has collective bargaining. I think there are about 3. I'm not sure, but I think 2 or 3 still have collective bargaining. We have to go further. People can't be intimidated. There has to be accountability. And police unions work. Just think about that logically. You don't have to be a Republican or a Democrat. You're pro this, pro that. An organization that seeks as little accountability as possible should be a problem. There's a reason for seeking as little accountability as possible. And that's not good. It just makes sense. So we need to go further. And hopefully that can happen in negotiations. But Proposition B is the first step, I guess.